Thanks for staying with us. So we love Thursdays because you get to talk about family stuff and, you know.
Not politics.
Kind of gist. I know politics. Anyway, so there was a story that was online that actually caught our attention and we thought was worth talking about. You know, it was a video about a man who was asking his wife, who he obviously had married with children. So she had children, maybe 1 or 2 kids, before she finally got married to this man. With this man, she also had children for him. So the man had accepted her and her 2 kids, maybe previous marriage or previous relationship. And they're married and they have their own kids. So he was complaining and lamenting that it's time for her to take the children to their father because he was tired of raising another man's children. And the woman had responded saying that, you met me as a single mother. I had these children. You met me and you married me with my children. Now, midway into marriage, you're angry and getting frustrated and asking me to return the kids to their father. You have no right to start this kind of conversation midway our marriage. What are your thoughts on this? Because there are 2 sides of this. Some are saying they agree with the husband because the truth is that reality has finally dawned on him that he cannot handle feeding additional mouths. Others are saying there was a contract. This is an integrity issue. We started well, and we both agreed, and now you're going back on your agreement. What are your thoughts? Where do you lean on this marital domestic issue? You can call us on 081-270-53687, also 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. Do you think this woman is right for accusing her husband of going back on the agreement, or do you think the man is right saying, take the kids back to their father? What are your thoughts? Who would like to go first on this? You want to start?
Okay, so I'll start by saying that before you get into any type of relationship, you must count your cost. You must look beyond the butterflies in your stomach. You must look beyond that first phase of feeling, because when you're starting out a relationship, there's usually this first phase where everything is all right, where you're seeing everything colorful. The pink is there, the red is there, the rainbow colors are there, you're excited. You're seeing some signs that at the end of the day, you may not be able to deal with, but because of the way you're feeling at the moment, you make the decision to go on with this person. I met a guy in the university, we're having a conversation, and he told me that he would not marry anybody who has a child. And I felt offended, like, what do you mean by that? Why will you say you will not marry somebody? What if you love the lady? What if you do this? He said he knows himself deep down that after that first phase where the love goes down, he may not be able to really take care of another man's child in his home. And so he's going to make it clear to any girl he's going to date when we leave school and all that, that if you have a child, let me know so that I can just take a walk. That was somebody who was putting his logic before his emotions, because he understands that in the long run, he may not be able to deal with it. Now, this for me is a case of dishonesty. You knew at some point that it will not be okay for you to take care of another person's child. Why did you go for the lady?
He didn't know. He thought he could.
No.
In the beginning, he thought he could.
No. He wanted the lady. By all means, for whatever he was feeling at the time, he wanted that lady. But he knew deep down that after a while, so in his mind, probably I'm just trying to assume, in his mind, he felt, when I've gotten everything I want, I can always tell her to take these kids out of the way. He felt that way. But he forgot that a woman you met who was single, who was already used to these children, raising the children, would find it very difficult to let go of the children for you. And I've seen women who have, with this kind of information now, they just carry the children and start looking for the father. Come and take your children. No, my new husband doesn't want. So you're not paying attention to the emotions of these children. You want to take them away from their mother because now you can no longer pay the bills or whatever problem is happening. I think it's dishonesty, and I think that guy should be called out.
We'll come back to the children and how they feel. Let's start with this act. Let me come to you. Talk about women. We don't go. What are your thoughts on this behavior?
So there are a lot of people that are experiencing major economic hardship in Nigeria at the moment. And while I am all for you have taken responsibility, you should be responsible all through. I feel sometimes it's okay to vent in that moment. So when I listened to the video, I could see a man that is frustrated, like, or would they catch up? You know, he's feeling the heat of financial responsibilities, and he's trying to find which weight I can shed, you know. And I feel that right from the get-go, foundationally, there was something wrong, because if from the beginning of that relationship, he saw those children as his children, that no matter how much poverty is slapping him, he would not think of discarding his own children. So from the beginning of that relationship, he always felt that these are not my children. I will take care of them. But when things became hard, he was quick to say, I'm going to discard these children. And there is also the case of, I feel that we must find a way to express ourselves. So I was listening to his language. There was no sense of ownership. There was no sense of attachment or responsibility or love or affection for those children. It was a case of money. These people have their own children. Their father is alive. The father should take care of their children. And you know, we don't have the entirety of that story to know how many years have they been married. Or if they've had kids, in the minimum, it would be like 2 years. Is it that they didn't have any emotional bond with the children within those 2 years? But it's a major lesson for single mothers. I believe that there are men out there, I mean, single mothers and single fathers. There are men out there and there are women outside there that will be willing to love you and love your children. Don't, because you want to get married, overlook the signs, because it is obvious this man would have been reflecting the fact that he did not have an emotional bond with those children.
All right, let me come to Mariam, because there are men that they started out well. The intention was, okay, I love you. I don't care. These children, you know, we watch all these movies all the time. I will love them. I will care for them. They're my children, you know. And they love, they take you home, and they thought they could actually handle it. But midway, this conversation comes up. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so for me, when I was listening to this conversation, it did not sound serious to me. Because if you're talking about take the children back to their father, usually the tone of that sort of conversation, if it's serious, it's not done this way. That's how I see it. If it's a serious conversation of sit down, we need to look at this properly. I don't think I can take care of these children anymore. It's not done over it's not a shouting match conversation. I feel it's a situation of someone who's frustrated about something. And if you listen carefully to what he's frustrated about, because of what he said, I think many of us will make the mistake and think this is a man that has just gone rogue, like I'm not. But if you listen to what he said, everything I do for them, but when I send them on errands, you complain that why am I sending them and not my own children? And yet I'm doing everything for them. You know, so this is a man that is frustrated by, choose, madam, are they my children or are they somebody's children? That's how I heard it. And if that's the case, then allow me to treat them how I would treat my children. But if they are not, they have a father who can take care of them. So for me, I know that when the children are yours, you should not even have that conversation. You should not even open that kind of warmth and make it sound like that. But sometimes the other spouse, sometimes the mothers, the wives need to take responsibility, you know, for how they manage information, how they present these children. I know of people personally who have been in situations like this, where they are constantly walking on eggshells around the children that have come in. I love you and I love your children, but how far can I discipline them? How much love can I show them without it coming across as weird? When I'm in bed with my children, they're running all over me. Are my stepchildren allowed to come on? When I punish our children, would you say, how come the strokes for this one was 6 and the one for this one was 4? So you are not sending me mixed messages. Auntie, I'm tired. Let's choose. So for me, that's where I saw the conversation was. All
right, we're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, so we're going to zoom. So you're right. If we look at it properly, we can dissect it. But as usual, we only use these stories as a reference. But the real conversation I want to talk about is when you're married in this situation, whose responsibility is it to raise those children? So this matter we're discussing is very, very important, because the conversation I would like us to focus on is the integrity of this arrangement. Whose responsibility is it to raise children who don't belong to you, but you love their mother? Because we always see how people are so quick to saying, I love you, I love everything about you, and I will take full responsibility. And then you get stuck. So my question to you, let me come back to Mariam. Was it right for him to want those kids back? Let's put aside the point that the woman herself also has been maybe reckless in how she's raising the kids compared to their stepfather. But was it right for him to say or use that as a threat that take these children back to their father? Is it right for somebody who was raising these kids to say that?
I think it's wrong. I think it's not something you should ever say out of your mouth, even in jest. So let's put that aside. But you also asked the question, whose responsibility should it be? And I think that is something that depends on every relationship is unique. Sometimes you meet a single mother who is co-parenting with an ex-husband or an ex-partner, and that other family is very much involved. If the father himself is not involved, maybe the grandparents are involved, the family, the children know who their father is and their father's family, and they're very much involved. And to the extent of maybe how much money this new relationship, how much money this new man you're going to a new relationship is, so probably you'll find he will chip in here and there, but usually the main responsibility is taken by their biological father or grandparents or things like that. And that's fine. It has to be discussed. No assumptions. Do not just assume these things. Then there are some single mothers that they're on their own. Nobody sends them and the children. They don't even know where their father is. They don't know where they're coming from. And usually single mothers like that would tell you, we are what do they call them? Package.
Plan.
Yeah, we're a package. It's not. Yeah, it's not just me. I come with these 2 kids. I come with these 3 kids. I come with this 1 kid. If you marry me, you marry this one too. This is 1 and 2 for the price of 1. I don't understand. And if you know that from the get-go, then then also there is a conversation for that. Am I your husband and then a stepfather to this person? Or am I not just your husband, but I want to be the adoptive father. I want to be the legal guardian. I want to make sure that this child never wonders for one day who his father is, because I'm stepping into those shoes. And when you do that, you can never, ever bring up the conversation about going back to your father, because you are the father.
Yeah,
Comes to BC.
Yeah, so parents who are together, who married, like the way we married without bringing children from outside, still have conversations on how to properly raise and discipline their children. Is an ongoing conversation, because we always come from different backgrounds. So probably his idea of how to chastise the kids is different from mine. And it's a clash that from time to time we go on. It happens in the household. I'm constantly dragging Oga, no, don't shout like this, no, don't flog like this, no. And he's, no, don't let them do this, don't do this, It's a conversation that normal homes have on a daily basis. And that's why if you know that you're getting into this type of arrangement, you must begin to have that conversation, because if normal people can have this problem, it's one mother, one father, there's no step in between, and then we still argue on how to properly raise and discipline and send these kids on errands, what do you expect when you're adopting another man's children into your home? And so women must be sincere in how they have this sort of conversation. So I know that some women do not like it when their husbands beat their children. It's something that they don't like, even when they are both the parents of these children. But then you ask yourself, what's your template on disciplining children? How many strokes of the cane do you give to them? How do you send them on errands? These are conversations that you must have. So you know now that you're a single parent, you're coming into this home with different children, into the marriage, you will work twice as hard. You will have the conversations twice as hard. You would try as much as possible to make sure that both of you are on the same page. And sometimes that is just one family. Even when the husband disciplines the children, we don't like the way the discipline goes. There's a way you have that conversation. You go into the bedroom. I'm going to say this again. Somebody called me out on it, saying every time you say go into the bedroom to go and talk, sometimes we need to talk in the parlor. Or the parlor, but it will be a conversation on, I really do not like how you are going about this. Is there a different way we can do it? But for you to outrightly say, okay, you don't tire me, I send them on errand, they don't answer me, and I want to send them to their father, I think that's totally wrong.
Let me take this call from Austin. It's calling from Benin. Good morning, Austin. You're live.
Morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
And this is an interesting topic. At least I followed it and I'm enjoying it. All of you there have actually spoken, explained both sides of the coin. But what I want to say is the woman is absolutely right. Very, very right to object to the husband or whatever. One, because the man went into the marriage with his two eyes open. He was not coerced, neither was he intimidated or maybe subjected to say you must marry. I see the man as being a wicked and selfish person. So those children must stay there because, one, in the words of Chino Achebe, if you carry an uninfested wood into your sitting room, you must expect lizards as guests. I think it is his cross. Let him carry it. Period.
Yeah. Thank you, Austin. Let me throw a curveball in here because let's imagine the father of the kids is doing well. He actually can't. He's just abandoned the woman, maybe for issues they've had, and he just left her. And the man, the husband, knows that the father of these kids is doing well where he has his own children, has his own family, has moved on.
Struggling.
And I'm here struggling. So in that situation, even though you have made a promise to your wife that we are here till death do us part, do you think it's still right for him to insist that they go to their father, even though when he knows the father is doing well?
Well, the conversation of the father is doing well or looking towards that father is because you have not taken ownership of the responsibility for those children. Yeah. Once you've taken over that these are my children, I'm raising them, they would love me. Even if that father is rich somewhere, they would know that I took responsibility for them and I love them. You will not think about it. The real focus I wanted to highlight, because there are many people watching and they might find themselves in that situation or be able to advise someone in a situation, is the level of self-awareness we need to have before getting married. We don't ask some questions, and you must know yourself enough to know. I've spoken to someone who, she's trying to have children, and I told her that, why don't you consider surrogacy? She said, I know myself. I will struggle at some point raising that child. I find it difficult even with my nieces and nephews sometimes. So imagine if I now have to raise someone that I know we have no biological connection. It will be a struggle. So she decided to go the path of surrogacy as opposed to adoption. So that there is a blood connection. So when you must know yourself enough to know and be honest with yourself that at some point, think about the future. What's the worst case scenario? We've discussed this and say, what's a deal breaker? What is the thing that my partner can do that would really shake me? It's not money issues.
Love clouds judgment sometimes. When you're in love, you don't even think of these things. Now we are thinking because we're looking in hindsight. Because we can do that now. But somebody who is in love, you're a man, you just love this girl to return.
It's a different thing when you're loving, you're 22, I'm 23, we're loving, no baggage. When you have a child, no matter how beclouded you are with love, you are responsible for a full human being. You must
not be a fool.
Yes, you cannot be foolish about your decisions.
23, 24, 25.
And you already have two children, but you're not responsible. You're no longer a baby.
Yeah.
You're no longer a baby. No matter how old you are, once you have a child, you have become a parent, and you must prioritize that child. So your self-awareness level, your ability to question what you are going to deal with must be really high, and you must be able to face the situation you are dealing with. Also, please, let me just quickly mention, at no point should, in this Nigeria of today, no man should have to carry the entire financial responsibility of a household by himself. Because if that woman was contributing financially, he cannot have that conversation if he's having it. But if you are both parties in a relationship, even if all the children are your own, you should be able to help out financially. That man, the man should not have to be complaining and groaning and saying...
What if the man has agreed that, listen, all I want you to stay home? There are men that insist that you stay home.
We talk about
tomorrow,
this kind of marriage.
And the man says stay home. It happens.
Okay, you have a call?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was going to say that, you see...
Have a call, please. Sorry, darling.
All right.
You're live. Go ahead, please. Hello, good morning. Yakub.
Yakub.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morayo, this is a very, very difficult topic, quote and unquote. You see, you all spoke very well, and then I agree with you all. But Morayo, you have said something. See, we men, when we are talking about love, when you love someone, you may not be able to see all the angles. At that moment, you may not be able to see that. Because of the love you have for the woman, you may not be able to go to the extent that you have some series of questions. Yes, the man is weak. If the man fails to discuss this very particular issue at the word of God, that these two kids, am I going to take the possession of them, even though I spend a lot of money sending them to school, do every necessary thing that I needed to do as a man, as your husband, together with my own kid that you had for me. Is it something this kid is not going to ask for their father and they finally go back to that father? Because the responsibility of all men is to take care of their children. That is the truth. There are some fathers still down somewhere that the owner of this kid that I'm going to write, and then at the end of the day, spending all my money, treating them very well. At the end of the day, when the children have gone mature, they go to university, and then they mature enough to take their own decisions. They must ask the woman that, where's their father? And at the end of the day, the woman says their father is somewhere. They look after their father, and then they go back there. You get it? So what is going to be the gain of the father and talk them? So this question, this very particular topic is very,
Still discussing this matter. Mariam, we're going to say something before the break. Go ahead.
So I was going to say that, at this table, we're going to make some apologies. You know how we always hear about our older generation? And one of the things we hear them about is how they are too involved in our personal. Why is it that? Why is the in-law putting their mouth? Why is it auntie and uncle putting? Because they know when you are in love, you need extra pairs of ears and eyes to help you. For people who already are coming with children into marriage, I know that parents or your older generation would sit you down and ask you, are you sure? And at that time, you'd be like, love conquers all. Yeah. I'm sure I love her, nothing can change it. Like, wait, uncle, what if they start giving you scenarios? What if this and this happens? What if this and this happens? Sometimes it's not to even discourage you. It's to even test to see if you're ready for what would happen, how you would handle it when this happens. It's so important. I know that love is important, and I believe that love can conquer a lot of things. And I believe that love plus maturity. And if you just realize that this person that I'm in this relationship with is my friend, we're in this together, there's nothing that you guys cannot do together. I believe that. But I also believe in discussing some things. And the truth is that many of us would go into marriages or have gone into marriages, and many young people go into marriages without seeing a lot of things that may happen. And it's normal and it's natural and it's human. Not many people have the gift of foresight. If we did, there are some steps we would not take today. But the truth is, we hope that we are resilient enough and honest enough that when we find ourselves in situations, we are ready to be responsible.
There's something you said that struck a chord. I've always wanted to mention it to BC because BC talks about it a lot, but I have to take this call. I'll come back to it in a second. Olubimi from Abuja, thanks for calling. You're live.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
You're live. Go ahead.
Morning.
Yeah. Okay. You guys look nice, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Love blind, and when you're in love with someone, I think it's important for others who are involved, especially with the person in love, to let them see some things. There was something one of you raised, the lady in black. She said that try and bring something to the table. Believe me, as a woman, just like you said, if the man says stay at home, please go out of your way to make sure you bring something to the table. Because I'm telling you, the man will get to a stage, he will hate you. And you will be surprised that you will not be thinking he's having an affair. No, he's not. He might even be pushed to start doing that. That's just the truth. If you don't bring anything to the table, you have like 2, 3, 4 children, and you're not bringing anything to the table, it will hate on you. Because now, even businesses in Nigeria, to do business in Nigeria is difficult, it's expensive. Now it's tedious. It's so much more than doing business in Ghana or going to Togo. Right. Please, what you guys are talking about, I appreciate you people a lot, but if you are bringing something to the table, the man will have no choice than to tag along.
Thank you very much, Olubimi. I'll swap the word hate. Hate is such a strong word. So maybe I'll say disrespect. You know, the man begins to disrespect when he feels that he's the one doing everything. But there was something that Mariam said earlier that was going to happen to discussion. You see, and BC says a lot that before you enter marriage, you have to discuss this thing. But these days, young people will tell you that it's becoming more like an interview where the girl is trying to ask you so many questions. You are dating somebody and they
How much do you earn? If this thing happens, what
because
will
a lot
you
of
do?
coaches will tell you, you have this conversation, you have to discussion. And it's like, it's no more that free love. I like this guy, I love him, where I just enjoying the moment, and we then go out to dinner, and the connections are there, and we had that. We didn't have conversations over Listen, we didn't over discuss certain things because it was when you entered the marriage or when you started courting. You now started having those conversations. But when you're dating, you're just meeting, hanging out, having friends. A lot of young people are having to be forced with conversation, and the guys are frustrated.
Be calming down.
Is asking questions.
Be calming down, my sister. Be calming down. So you that did not have the conversations, are there not things now that you are noticing that if you had sorted out in the beginning or cleared it in the beginning, it would have worked out better for you?
Let me say,
no. Hold on. No. Wait, let me just land everything. You can answer together. The idea is not for you to just be having interview sessions when you go out to the date.
Sounds like
you not bring your list. That's okay.
Your notes and pads.
Do you do this? The idea is for you to understand the values of the other person and check if your values align. Because when your values align, whatever challenges come, you will hold hands. According to my little daughter, come with daddy holding hands. You will hold hands together and solve the problem. So you get into a relationship without knowing the values of the person. You are not self-aware enough to know your own values. There are some clashes that another person who understands their values, they will have the same challenges, but they are able to move through it and move. We want an easy life for you. There are some things that, people who have been married for a long time complain about, that it gets them to this point and they've resigned to. It's my cross. Let me just carry it. Is that what you want for yourself? So do your homework by understanding the values of the person. Issues will definitely come in marriage. Issues like this will come up on a daily basis. Issues of, we use toothpaste, so
but
you take the toothpaste from the end, you take it from the top.
The Holy Spirit will help you to carry.
So every marriage...
Maybe you will still complain, even with the Holy Spirit helping you to
I have
carry.
a call. Come to you in a second. I have a call. Good morning. Are you there?
Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
All right. I just want to say something to this discussion. You guys can discuss all of this until the reality is done on us. Sometimes all these conversations that we are talking about, you might not, like we were saying earlier on, there are some conversations that even men will deliberately avoid. And when the reality comes on you, when the financial, obligation comes on you, it goes down. We cannot really totally blame the man. He might have good intention. He might want to, nurture the children. He might want to take care of them. But when the reality of the need for him to take care of the financial need comes up, that's when you will really understand what is confronting you. I like what Tokwe was saying, that, as a woman, you should bring something to the table. Because when you bring something to the table, at that time that the man is feeling the weight, you can help him cushion the weight by, supporting him and doing something. Absolutely. But the truth is that let's not totally condemn the man. Sometimes when needs are overwhelming, men tend to react. Women, we can manage so many things. We can take so many responsibilities. Men are not wired like that. I'm telling you, women can manage so many things. But when challenges are too overwhelming, men are like babies.
Yeah. Thank you, Abosede.
Before Tomek jumps in, 2 words. Challenges bring out the core of you. A kind man will not suddenly become wicked with challenges.
My sister.
And that's why you must find, even if you don't have the total picture of the core of that person, you must find a similitude of what they believe in, what their values are, what their beliefs are, because that is what will come out when the challenges hit. At some point in our lives, we have been faced with very tight challenges that, okay, how do we pay the bills? How do we do this? How do we do that? That is when you see the core of the person.
Let me
ask yourself, is this core? Is this core? Am I okay to deal with this core? Once you know that the core aligns with you, whatever happens,
I'll come to you.
Conquer.
Abiajilu,
yes,
imagine your brother for a second.
Yeah.
Is in love with Aisha. Aisha has 2 kids.
Yeah.
And your brother is a good person.
Yeah.
He loves it, everything, and he has given everything. And then these 2 kids are now, like my own kids are 9-year-old. They eat 1 loaf of bread, it's done. Yeah. So somebody else is there, they're in your house, they finish 1, 2, 3 loaves in the minute. And guys, then your brother is thinking, our own child is just 10 months old. No. He's just taking dream meal. I'm here feeding these kids. How would you advise if it comes to you that says, I'm frustrated? I mean, I love these kids, they're like mine, but the truth is that I am overwhelmed.
You don't love them.
You don't love them. Because if they are your children eating, have you sent your kids away for eating the 2 loaves of bread?
You don't even see them as your
make us
children.
appreciate. You know, we become so me, my family,
And I.
my. When we were growing up, like everybody's house, there's always somebody around. You're cooking one massive pot, and it wasn't like our parents were that rich that they could afford to take care of. People were paying school fees for their younger ones. People still do that till now. They're paying for cousins. Your brother will come from one village. You'll say, go and meet your uncle in Lagos. We were communal. We knew we were going to take responsibility for everybody. And it wasn't out of surplus. It was out of the responsibility and kindness of heart. And we are now growing into a generation of sectionalism. I have to take care of my children. For my children will go to this best kind of schools, and then you go to grade B, C, D. And I think we need to get back to that space where we don't think in terms of this one is my child and this one should get better and this is the quality of life this person should get. At the end of the day, kindness is universal. And no matter how tough, this man might actually be a really, really kind person under pressure at this moment. And 2 days after, he will come back and apologize for the way he reacted that, okay, I was just venting in the moment. These things happen because I know somebody, maybe a caller or someone was mentioning that you wouldn't have even said it. Sometimes we say things. Some pressure would bring out things that you are even shocked at yourself. Like, I can never believe I can say this kind of thing. But you must be, if you are able to go back and say, that's not me. That was me reacting. This is not who I want to be or who I think I am. Then you go back and apologize for the situation and correct that situation. But that moment of pressure can release things within you that you don't even know.
Thanks for staying with us. All right, there was a story that I was going to come to you, Mary, in a second. But I remember while we're talking about this. There was a wedding that was about to happen, and I'm not sure it was the father of the mother. I'm trying to remember which parent it was. But a woman or a man raised children himself. I think it was a guy, yes. He raised the kids with them. He married their mother. And then it was time to get married. They went to look for their biological father to walk them down the aisle. And he didn't find that funny because he did his job. According to him, he did his job. He raised them, sent them to school. But at some point in life, they went to find their biological father, and that they were grown up, the adults. And I think he confided in somebody I knew. Like, he was an adult. He didn't really need them to have come to him. But he said there was something in him that was hurt, that he just felt that he has raised these kids until, they're now doing well, but he felt that that day was a day for them to honor him somewhat. Although he was fine that it was, because they actually came for his permission.
Together.
Can I bring a father? And he can't tell them no, because that's their biological father. But somewhere inside him, he was hurt that this was the man who did nothing, did not raise them, did not pay one school fees, walked that woman, walked that girl down the aisle, and that didn't hurt him. But he just knew that maybe so he felt bad. So in that situation, then things like that happen. It kind of then reminds you of maybe he should have done what this man did earlier, that carried these kids to their father because I can't raise them.
You know, one thing with stories is that then we stop. We never ask of what happens afterwards. Because you may be surprised that the children came to the realization and, you know, come back to even ask for forgiveness for that behavior. Because if you do truly raise a child as yours and you show the person love, just raise that person as a parent. They don't ever forget it. And even our children make mistakes. Our own biological children make mistakes. And, you know, sometimes as adults, we let them live with their mistakes. Then when they come by themselves, realize what they've done. So probably that's not how that story ends. And if it even ends that way, you know, as Christians, as believers, your reward is in heaven. I've never shared this, but I will today. So when my dad died, my father's family was just completely out of the picture. And my stepfather was there, you know. And at my wedding, my mother went to go and calculate this. That means she went to go and dig up the father's family. I don't know for what reason. For what reason? And so there's a part where you come and sit with your parents. And I came and I saw a strange-looking person sitting beside my mom, like, hello? What's happening here?
Who is this?
And I see my stepfather sitting further away. I insisted right there that he be put
right next to your mom.
Right next to my mom.
Did the right
and then we continued because it doesn't make sense to me. And so, you know, some people are aware early, some are not. And also, my mom did that not because she thought they deserved it, but because society,
Yeah, it's the right thing.
Culture.
they need to know that she comes from somewhere. You know? But it does not matter. For me, what mattered to me is this person, however he turned out, he was the one that was present. And so that was taking me to the next point I was going to make, that many people also think that this relationship, stepmother relationship is about money. It's not always about money. Sometimes the stepfather can even have more money than the biological father, and the stepfather decides to give you only money. But the child is seeking love, is seeking support, is seeking identity. Yeah. So he's seeing his siblings with their father, and I'm in that house, but I can see I'm treated differently. But we go to the same schools, we travel and do everything. That child is not happy. So sometimes money is even the smallest of things to worry about. I would appreciate a man who, you know, gives all that, who is able to give all that. And some men have even, and it's unlikely for a decent man who's decided to take on children to say, you know what, their biological father is making so much money. Let's go and ask the man, or why don't you? In fact, most men would feel insulted. They'll be like, yes, I have only 13 naira, and that's the 13 naira I'm going to use to raise all my children. I am proud of it, and they'll be proud of me. However, he and his millions can go and do whatever they want to do. Most decent men would not go cap in hand and be asking. In fact, if they do that, the wife will be worried, you know. And there have been situations where men have done their best, raising children that are not biologically theirs. And then you have the wife go behind that man's back and goes cap in hand, asking from biological father that was never present, never wanted to be present, and is asking for money and making this person. So there are different dynamics, but truly I believe that a man who decides that these children are mine usually faces his front, and that's all he...
BC, if this lady now in question was your sister, she's your sister, and it's like she's telling you that her husband is asking her to take her kids back to her husband, to her ex or wherever it is, how would you advise her?
So I would ask her what is most important. So I'll start by asking, what was the conversation people had in the beginning? Okay, promise he was going to look after the child, he was going to do this, he was going to do that, but now challenges have come, we are not able to pay bills, blah, 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 blah. Then I will ask, so what is important to you right now? What do you want to do concerning this? Would you want to give up your children to stay in this marriage, or would you want to, if he insists, take yourself out of the marriage with your children? The decision is hers to make. But I also wanted to point out something. I know that I've not gotten to that level where I've raised another person's child and I'm expecting returns. But I think people need to understand that the choices of the child will be the choices of the child later on. Whatever you're doing for any child in your care, do it for God and move on from it. Do not expect any. That's one of the ways that I'm beginning to manage relationships. Do not expect anything. Because the child can wake up tomorrow and say, is that one that I've not seen since I want to go and look for? He's the one I want to come and sit here. If in the other, you know, after a while he realizes that, okay, I did the wrong thing and comes to apologize, fine. However, accept it in good faith, because you cannot determine the outcome. You can only control what you have power over. You cannot determine the outcome of another full-blown individual. And so that you don't break your own heart, raise the children and raise them the best way that you can. If they choose to go and look for their biological father, I don't think you should feel bad that they did that, because you cannot control that outcome. Then secondly, aside from the conversation that I advise you must have, observation is the most important aspect when you're dating.
Oh, yes.
You must look.
Non-verbal.
And look beyond what is being said, because we have realized a lot of people say lies. They say what they don't mean, but their actions show something different. How does he treat his nieces and his nephews? Is he someone that is always irritated when children are around him, and you think after a while he will keep loving your children that way? He won't do that. So observe him while he's telling you, I love your children, I'm buying meat pie for them, I'm paying small money for them. Observe how he treats them. Observe how he treats his neighbor's kids that come around him. Observe him.
I always
I'll come to you.
Just say it 2 seconds. I get messages a lot from viewers, young girls, and say, oh, I'm dating this man who used to be married. How did you know that's your husband? I always say the good part of dating someone who used to be married is that, or has children, is that you can see firsthand how he treats. You are getting exposed that 2 singles will never have.
At all.
Sometimes.
Hey, Akin. Good morning, Akin. Are you there? Thanks for calling.
Good morning, thank you.
You're live.
For having me. I just want to add another dimension to this. When we were growing up, a friend of ours wanted to get married. And he insisted that
the nanny who brought him up must be the one to sit in the position of mom.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because that was the mother he knew.
See, it's a
The mom
child's
was
decision.
there, but she was the career woman. But he insisted that it must be his nanny. That's there. They reached a compromise. Mom and nanny were the same thing. Mom sat to the far right. So where mom should actually sit was where nanny was sitting and his dad was sitting next to her. But he did insist that it was.
Which is what Mariam said. Raising kids is not only about financial, it's also the emotional connection. So
yeah.
maybe the nanny had the emotional connection, but mother probably provided the finances, or but was never there, provided everything that you have.
Please let me answer the question you asked, BC, concerning if this is the experience of someone I wanted to advise personally. First thing I'll say is, when I listened to the conversation, she wasn't listening. She wasn't listening. And many of us don't listen. Many of us just hear and reply. Whenever we're having when the conversation is tough, the onus is on us to actually listen to what is being said and what is not being said. And question to get more. Why are you saying this? What is changing? What is happening? Because until you properly diagnose the problem, you cannot provide a solution. And in most cases, people are just saying, no, how can you say that? You know me before. No, that won't solve the problem. The first thing is, why are you saying this?
Today.
Explain to me, what did I do wrong? What did the children do wrong? How can we do better? What is the problem? Because you were not like this before we got married. Something changed. So when you diagnose what that problem is, you can then identify what are the possible solutions, what can we do, how can we improve on this situation. But listening carefully for me would be the first advice that I would give that person in the situation. Then every other advice that
Okay,
we see.
fantastic.
Can I?
Very quickly.
Okay, dating, which I just wanted to say that it's not because I remember one time on social media, this went viral. Someone said he invited someone out to date. I immediately asked her, what are her first 5 something?
5 goals.
And then what's her 5-year plan? She was like, bros, please bye. So we're not saying you should go and make it about an interview.
Yes.
It is in conversations and in observation as
play.
business. Please, we're not saying take a notepad.
No, that's what business
I know.
does. Conversation.
I know if people like us are likely to do that, but please, you can.
Never.
Let's
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.